Hello students, welcome to this government lesson. In today's lesson, we shall be considering the topic Parliamentary System of Government. Parliamentary System of Government is also called Cabinet System of Government. And I want us to pay attention to this diagram because this diagram explains everything about the Parliamentary System of Government. Let's just take a look. Let's just look at it. Alright, just look at this diagram. You see different people here. We have the shadow cabinet. That's the ones in red. I will explain all these items. We have the cabinet member, and then we have the prime minister. We have parliamentarians or legislators. We have members of the political party with the highest number of votes. And the whole of this diagram is called the parliament. Now, pay attention. Let me pick them one after the other. Now, the shadow cabinet in a parliamentary system of government is that is a body of individuals in the parliament who were not actually elected by the members of the public. They don't have the highest number of votes. In the parliament. That shows that they have very few seats in the parliament. Now, if you count the whole of the people here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Now, from 26, we just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Only 8 seats are occupied by the shadow cabinet. Now, the shadow cabinet is actually consisting of people from different political parties who are having just few seats in the parliament. The parliament is like the National Assembly we have in Nigeria, but Nigeria is not practicing a parliamentary system of government. Nigeria practiced a parliamentary system of government between 1960 and 1966. But since then, we've not practiced parliamentary system of government. But just to use the National Assembly to actually help us explain what the parliamentary system of government is. So these ones could be from different political parties, but they could come together so that they can checkmate the excesses of the political party with the highest number of votes that are actually controlling the government. Alright, that's the shadow cabinet for you. Then we have the cabinet member. Alright, I just pick one to represent all these ones with mouth and eyes. Yes, they are also, they are people or parliamentarians that have the highest number of seats in the parliament. Now, if you count it, you discover that they are more than these other ones are actually mentioned as the shadow cabinet. Now, then we have the cabinet, we have the prime minister. The prime minister is actually normally elected from the political party with the highest number of votes in the parliamentary system of government. Now, when we explain, when we define the parliamentary system of government, you understand what I'm trying to say. But let's just get it this way. I'll be making reference to this. Then we have the parliamentarians or legislators. All of them in this place are parliamentarians and they are legislators. They legislate and they make laws for the land. And then we have member of the political party with the highest number of votes. I just pick one just to represent these other ones. You can see they don't have mouth, they don't have eyes. Even though they are part of the political party with the highest number of votes, but they are not cabinet members. They are not having eyes. I just decided to differentiate them that way. Alright, so the whole of it is the parliament. Quickly, I want us to just look at, let's go through the lesson now. Alright, now performance objectives. What we hope to achieve. 1 is to define a parliamentary system of government. 2 is to state 6 characteristics of parliamentary system of government. Students should be able to explain 4 duties of the prime minister, and then they should be able to outline at least 5 merits and demerits of a parliamentary system of government. Alright, let's look at the definition of a parliamentary system of government. We say a parliamentary system of government can be defined as a system of government in which there is no distinct separation of powers between the executive and the legislature. The head of state called president is different from the head of government called the prime minister. Executive powers are vested in the cabinet headed by the prime minister. Let me quickly explain this. Now we said there is no separation of power between the executives and then the legislators. Now the whole of it here, the whole of this diagram is actually parliamentarians or legislators. That shows that all of them are making laws. But from these parliamentarians, few are picked by the prime minister. He appoints his cabinet members, just like we have in Nigeria. The president appoints the ministers who head different departments and ministries. That is exactly what happens in the parliamentary system of government. From members of the political party with the highest number of votes or highest number of seats in the parliament, the prime minister will not select his cabinet members. These are the cabinet members of the prime minister. He becomes the chief executive officer, and they become his cabinet members or his heads of departments. All right. Now, just look at it. Now, since all of them are parliamentarians, now like we have in the presidential system of government, where we just have one head, the powers are distinct. The powers of the legislators different from the powers of the executive. Like we have separation of power properly defined in the presidential system of government. But in the parliamentary system of government, the powers are not distinct, like we actually spelled out here. They make laws and they also execute the laws. So you can see that the powers are not actually separated, just as we have here. In the presidential system of government, we just have one head. But in the parliamentary system of government, we have two heads. We have the prime minister and then we have the president in some countries. Other countries, they will call the president the head of state. Quickly, let's just move so that we don't waste so much time as we progress. You understand better. Characteristics of a parliamentary system of government. Let's just look at the characteristics. There is no strict separation of powers between the executive and the legislature. Like I've told you, legislators make laws and they also, some of them execute the laws because the prime minister is there and then his cabinet members. Alright, so the cabinet members plus the prime minister form the executive members, but yet they also make laws. So you can see that there is no separation of power, it's not properly separated. The head of state is different from the head of government. I've said this earlier on, that during Nigerian parliamentary system of government, Nnamdi Azikiwe was the first president, and then Abubakar Tafawa Balewa was the prime minister. So you can see two heads there. The president performs ceremonial functions, and then the prime minister performs executive or administrative functions. We have ministers are collectively responsible to the legislature for state administration. Now, ministers, like I've said, these cabinet members are the ones that form they are the ministers. They head different departments and ministries, and they are appointed by the prime minister. Now, they are responsible for the entire parliament or the legislature here. Is that okay? Whatever they do, they are answerable to the legislature. Is what the parliamentarians have agreed upon that will be executed or will be carried out or implemented by the ministers collectively. Now we say the prime minister is also the parliamentary leader of the party in power and has the power to dismiss any minister from his cabinet. Now, since he has the power to appoint all the ministers or heads of departments and ministries, he also has the power to dismiss them if they don't actually act, based on the stipulations of the constitution or what has been agreed in the parliament. Quickly, there must always be at least two parties, the ruling party and the opposition party. Now, in the parliamentary system of government, there is an official opposition party, not like we have in Nigeria. Nigeria is practicing the presidential system of government. There is no official opposition party. But you see, like PDP is playing now, the PDP decided to just form the opposition, but it is not an official opposition party because we don't have an official opposition party in a presidential system of government. But in a parliamentary system of government, we have, just like when you see the shadow cabinet. The shadow cabinet, like I've said earlier on, is actually made up of people from different political parties. This could be 8 APP, this person could be from DRC, this one could be from UPN. Alright, when they put themselves together, they now form a coalition where they serve as the official opposition party and they are called the cabinet, the shadow cabinet, checkmate the excesses of the political party that has the highest number of votes. So we have the political party with the highest number of votes plus other political parties who form the coalition to form the official opposition party. A vote of no confidence by the parliament can force the prime minister and his members to resign together. Now, quickly talk about collective responsibility, even though we'll later on talk on that. But just for us to understand that the prime minister and his ministers can actually be forced out of office by the parliament. Since we say the ministers plus the prime minister are actually they are subject to the ratification of the members of the parliament. All right, so the minister can actually be forced out of the office with his minister. The prime minister and his ministers can be forced out of their office if they don't actually act within the stipulations of the constitution or what has been agreed in the parliament. The executive and the legislature are controlled by the party having majority seats in the legislature, of course. Like Nigeria, now I'm just bringing Nigeria so that we can understand it properly. In the National Assembly, we have senators are 109, isn't it? And then members of the House of Representatives, 360. When you put them together, we have 469. Now, when you look at it, if I may ask you now, you know that APC actually forms, is the party, the political party with the highest number of seats in the National Assembly. Now, if APC has the highest number of seats in the parliament or in the legislature or in the National Assembly, what will happen? That shows that whatever the political or the government in power brings, I'm telling you, it will be passed into law. That's the reason why we're having a serious problem in Nigeria. Because the political party with the highest number of seats will just, whatever the president says, they will just pass it into law. The minority cannot say anything because the majority carries the vote. All right, so that is what is actually, but in the legislature, we say the executive and the legislature are, the executive and the legislature are controlled by the party having majority seats in the just use that to explain it. Now, the formation of a coalition government is inevitable if no single party wins the overall majority in a general election. That takes us to what we call proportional representation. Now, in a parliamentary system of government, there's what we call proportional representation. Let me quickly explain. A proportional representation system is a system in which different political parties get seats in the parliament in proportion with the total number of votes cast in their favor. Now, in a proportional representation system, electorate do not vote for individuals, they don't vote for candidates, but they vote for political parties. And that will make them will now pave way for them to get number of seats based on the number of votes cast in their favor during an election. Now, we say the formation of the coalition party. Now, there is what we call absolute majority. Now, in a case where a political party is not able to secure the number of votes expected, like in an absolute majority, you must get more than 50% of the total votes cast. You must get more than 50%. All right, now if after an election, no political party is able to get more than 50% of the total votes cast during an election, what will happen is that different political parties now form a coalition. Now when they form that coalition, what will happen is that automatically one will come up with the required number of votes that is supposed to be gotten by that political party before forming the government of the day. All right. Now, let's just look at, this is the National Assembly, this is the House of Senate, of course, in Nigeria, the upper house. Now, I decided to just snap this so that we can just have a picture. This is one of their sessions, a valedictory session that they have for one of them that actually passed on. Now, some duties of the Prime Minister. Let's quickly look at the functions of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is the head of government as well as the head of the ruling party. I think I've established that because he has the power to appoint his ministers and he has the power to also dismiss them if they are not actually acting as expected. 2, he has power to appoint or change the position of any minister in his cabinet. You can swap their different ministerial offices. 3, the Prime Minister exercises real executive powers and represents his country in heads of government summits. Now, like Buhari, when he came into power, he went into different countries. And some of us were making you say, and why was he traveling to different countries? Yes, he has to do that because he wants to establish diplomatic relations with different countries of the world. That way, it will actually pave way for investors to come invest in our country, and it can actually lead to a very good international relations between Nigeria and other countries. So this is one of his functions. He represents the country in different summits, like the ECOWAS summits, heads of states of different countries coming together. Another one, the 4th one, he presides over cabinet meetings and coordinates the activities of various government departments. Yes, as he appoints them, he actually coordinates the activities of different departments through the heads, the ministers that he has actually appointed to take care of such ministries and then departments. The Prime Minister is the link between the cabinet and the president. Like I've said, in some countries they call them heads of state. Now the Prime Minister in Britain is the one responsible for shuttling between the cabinet members and then the Queen of England. So he shuttles between the Queen of England and then all the parliamentarians in the parliament. Merits of the parliamentary system of government. Are there merits, are there advantages in the parliamentary system of government? Yes. Let's go through them. Let's see. 1. Party discipline is enhanced in the parliamentary system since the Prime Minister is obliged to pick his ministers from his political party or from his party. Now there will be discipline. If you're not disciplined, you'll not be picked. Like we have here, you see some of them, even though they're part of the members of the political party, the highest number of votes, they are not picked. Now it calls for you to be very disciplined. Even in our various institutions, in our various places of work, if a worker is not disciplined, the principal officer may not actually give him any responsibility, or will not call him to do 1 or 2 things, will not give him any promotion. You discover that person will remain there. So that, because of that, you discover that everybody in the political party is very, very disciplined, and that is an advantage. The presence of a recognized opposition party ready to criticize bad policies. Like I've said, the shadow cabinet is there. It is an official opposition party to check the excesses, the arbitrary use of power by the Prime Minister and then his cabinet members, and then those that form the largest part of the parliament. They are being checkmated by the opposition party. Let's see the next one. The principle of collective responsibility in a cabinet system of government enhances efficiency. Now, what is collective responsibility? Let me quickly explain. Collective responsibility means in a parliamentary system of government, if one of these cabinet members does something that is wrong, it is not going to be attributed to him alone. It is going to be said that the cabinet has failed and they can be dismissed, and then a new cabinet will be formed. So collective responsibility means that one for all and all for one. If one does something that is good, it's everybody. If one does something that is wrong, it's everybody. That is what we call collective responsibility. But in the presidential system of government, we don't have collective responsibility. We have individual responsibility. Next, the executive tends to be less dictatorial for fear of a vote of no confidence. Alright, now that we've said they can actually be removed from office by the parliamentarians, that actually makes them to be afraid because they can be voted out of the office. So it makes them to be very, very careful as they discharge their various responsibilities. Usual conflicts between the executive and the legislature are reduced. Now, like we have in the presidential system of government, where you discover that the legislature and the executive are always in friction. We remember the different frictions or different conflicts that have actually transpired between the legislators and then the executive in Nigeria. But in the parliamentary system of government, since they are together, if you fight, as you fight, it's like you're fighting yourself. So you discover that friction is actually reduced to the barest minimum. Now, the executive tends to be less dictatorial. Okay, I think this is a repetition, sorry. Alright, the government usually gets its bills passed. Yes, because the prime minister actually is from the political party with the highest number of votes. What will happen? Whatever executive bills that are brought, since he has his people, it will just be passed without any problem. So government usually gets its bills passed. Next, government decision making process is very fast in a parliamentary system of government. Why? Because the executive and the parliamentarians, or the executive and the legislators, are in one place. So you discover that there is no movement. Just in one place, decision will just be taken. And so it makes it very, very fast. Alright, the merits of a parliamentary system of government. Are there disadvantages in a parliamentary system of government? Having considered or looked at the merits, let's see the demerits. A cabinet system of government does not avail itself of the human resources outside the ruling party. A cabinet member or a cabinet system of government does not avail itself of the human resources outside the ruling party. What are we trying to say? We've said that the cabinet members or the ministers are actually selected from the political party with the highest number of votes. That shows that even if there are good people that are in the parliament, but they are not from the political party with the highest number of votes, they will not be picked. So they will just pick anybody since we are the ones that form the political party with the highest number of votes. Pick anybody, pick those people that cannot even handle things properly. So it is a disadvantage in the parliamentary system of government. The absence of individual accountability as a result of the principle of collective responsibility leaves ministers open to misbehavior, since they cannot easily be judged individually. I've already explained this. Is that okay? The collective responsibility has to do with one person. When you sin, the sin will be, the punishment will go to everybody. So if I will not be blamed as an individual, or just behave anyhow, so it leads to misbehavior in the parliament. Non-separation of powers does not encourage specialization. Of course, like we have the presidential system of government, the executive executes or carries out the law or implements the law, and then we have the legislature which makes the law for the land. But here, they are together, so there's no specialization. Like we have in the economy, it's what is called division of responsibility. Where this one is doing this one is doing this. A system made up of different parts, which, different people are doing different things, but for the benefit of the whole system. We don't have that in a parliamentary system of government. The cabinet system is less democratic, since the prime minister is not directly elected by the electorate. The prime minister, like I've said earlier on, is not actually elected by the electorate. It is when they are voted for the political parties and they have come to the parliament. It is in the parliament, the parliamentarians will now choose the prime minister. That makes it undemocratic. The electorate may not be happy with the person chosen as the prime minister, but they have nothing to do about it. The tenure of the cabinet is not stable, since the legislature can be dismissed, or can dismiss the entire cabinet with a vote of no confidence. Like I've said, all for one and one for all. If one sits, their tenure can be terminated any moment. So that is a disadvantage in the parliamentary system of government. The prime minister could become dictatorial because of the powers vested in him to appoint and dismiss ministers, as well as the fact that he alone can call for the dissolution of the House. Now just look at it. You have the power to appoint and you have the power to dismiss. That shows that any minister that does not please you, or you are in you have personal conflict or problem with that minister, you just dismiss him. That shows that you are actually using your power arbitrarily. Even though you could bring some excuses, the reason why you are dismissing such a minister, but that may not actually be it. A coalition government usually leads to conflicts, corruption, and rivalry among the coalition parties. Just look at it. We say this one is APC, APP, this one is UPN, this one is DRC. Different people from different political parties coming to form a coalition in a bid to have the required number of votes. Of course, the APP has its own ideology. The UPN has its own ideology. The DRC has its own ideology. Even though they have come together and they have formed a coalition, you discover that there are still individual interests actually conflicting with one another. So it's a disadvantage. Summary, we've already looked at all those things. Please just go back and check it. Your assignment, what do we have? State 5 functions of the head of state in a parliamentary system of government, and then briefly explain 5 roles of the opposition party in the system. All right. Just send it to this. I've seen some of the assignment and we've interacted with some of you. Please try and do this assignment and send it. Stay safe and have a nice day. Thank you so much.